Vanished in the Night, the Unsolved Mystery of Lisa Maas and Ontario's Lost Daughters. It's just after 4:30 a.m. on a quiet summer night in 1988. The rural backroads of Woodford, Ontario are cloaked in darkness, the kind that swallows sound and secrets alike. Lisa Maas, 22 years old, 5 months pregnant, and dreaming of a new chapter, climbs into her green Plymouth Fury. She just left a house party, a night of laughter and friends now fading behind her. She turns left down a lonely farm laneway, headlights cutting through the pre-dawn mist. And then, she's gone. 2 days later, her car is found, doors flung open, papers strewn in the mud, abandoned on a desolate lane she had no reason to take. Her driver's license turns up miles away, tossed like a taunt. 37 years later, the question lingers. What happened to Lisa Maas? And why does her story echo a chilling pattern of Ontario's lost daughters? Young women vanishing into the night, leaving behind only questions and heartbreak. Welcome to Ontario Cold Cases, Canada's True Crime Podcast. I'm Jay Nicoll of Nicoll Investigations, and today we're unraveling one of the province's most haunting mysteries. The disappearance of Lisa Maas. From a ransacked car to a shadowy male acquaintance. From volunteer searches to whispers of foul play, we'll dig into the clues, the theories, and the chilling what-ifs. Was she intercepted on that dark road? Did she ever leave the farmhouse alive? Or does the truth lie buried with someone who's kept silent for decades? And as we peel back the layers, we'll uncover the stories of other women, Lois Hanna, Amber Potts Jaffary, and more, whose fates mirror Lisa's in ways that will leave you questioning. Is there a connection we've missed? Grab your headphones because this is Vanished in the Night, the Unsolved Mystery of Lisa Maas and Ontario's Lost Daughters. Let's step into the shadows. Hello, I'm Jay Nicoll of Nicoll Investigations. And this is Ontario Cold Cases, Canada's True Crime Podcast. Ontario Cold Cases is a gripping true crime podcast that shines a light on unsolved murders, disappearances, and forgotten crimes from across the province and the world. With meticulous research, compelling storytelling, and a commitment to historical accuracy, we bring you the real stories of victims, investigators, and suspects, stories that demand to be heard. Each week, we take you deep into the world of true crime with a packed schedule of episodes. Tuesdays, historical true crime cases, exploring infamous and obscure crimes from history. Wednesdays, the Mick and Mac Mysteries, a thrilling fictional detective series set in 1950s Toronto. Thursdays, World Cold Case Thursday, investigating unsolved cases from around the globe. Sundays, Ontario Cold Cases, the latest episode uncovering an unsolved mystery from Ontario. From high-profile crimes that shock the nation to little-known cases waiting for justice, we uncover the truth, one case at a time. Join us as we explore the dark corners of history and mystery, where every clue could lead to answers and every case deserves a second look. Subscribe now wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts and never miss an episode of Ontario Cold Cases, Canada's True Crime Podcast. Lisa Maas was a 22-year-old woman who disappeared from Woodford, Ontario on July 17, 1988, under mysterious circumstances that remain unsolved to this day. At the time of her disappearance, she was 5 months pregnant and recently moved back to her adoptive parents' home in Owen Sound after ending a relationship with her boyfriend, Ron Valliere. She had also separated from her husband of 2 years, Terry Maas, about 6 months earlier. Her case has drawn significant attention over the years, with extensive police investigations, volunteer searches, and ongoing efforts by amateur sleuths to uncover the truth, background, and events leading up to the disappearance. Lisa Leona Maas was born on March 6, 1966. She stood 4 feet 10 inches tall, weighed 97 pounds, and had dark blonde, shoulder-length straight hair and hazel eyes. She had a thin build, fair complexion, and distinctive features including 3 piercings in each ear and a mouse tattoo on her left shoulder. On the day she went missing, she was last seen wearing blue jeans, white running shoes, and a light blue sweatshirt with a Mickey Mouse design on the front. She also wore 2 notable rings, a 10-carat yellow gold friendship ring with 2 hands and a 14-carat yellow gold opal ring set with diamonds and a black opal doublet. The day before her disappearance, July 16, 1988, Lisa had a tumultuous argument with her boyfriend, Ron Valliere, prompting her to call her father to pick her up and move her belongings back to her parents' home in Owen Sound. That evening, she went out with friends, beginning at a bar in downtown Owen Sound, where she met 2 girlfriends and a male acquaintance. The group drove to the male acquaintance's rented farmhouse in Annan, where Lisa left her green 1976 Plymouth Fury. They then proceeded in his car to a house party in Woodford, a small community east of Owen Sound. The night of the disappearance, Lisa arrived at the Woodford party around 3:00 a.m. on July 17th with her friends. Early that morning, around 4:30 a.m., she decided to leave the party with a male acquaintance to retrieve her car from his farmhouse in Annan. According to his statement, he drove her back to the farmhouse, where she got into her Plymouth Fury, drove down the long farm laneway, and turned left, away from Annan, toward an unknown destination. This was the last confirmed sighting of Lisa Maas. Up next, discovery of her car and initial investigation. Discovery of her car and initial investigation. 2 days later, on July 19th, 1988, Lisa's car was found abandoned on a blind, muddy farm lane running through a farmer's property near Annan, a few kilometers from where she was last seen. The vehicle was stuck in the mud, with its doors and trunk open and paperwork scattered about, suggesting it had been ransacked. There were signs that attempts had been made to free the car from the mud, but it's unclear who made those efforts. The location was unusual. Lisa was familiar with the area and unlikely to have driven down such an unimproved road, especially in the dark. In the weeks following her disappearance, the Ontario Provincial Police conducted multiple searches of the surrounding area, including with cadaver dogs, helicopters equipped with heat-seeking sensors, and teams rappelling down wells and exploring rocky crevices. About 3 weeks after she vanished during a community-organized search, Lisa's driver's license was discovered atop tall grass in a ditch along a side road, several kilometers from her car. Its placement suggested it had been tossed from a moving vehicle, possibly by someone involved in her disappearance, or a thief who later disturbed the scene. The OPP interviewed over 165 individuals in the initial years of the investigation. Police narrowed their focus to a single suspect, a person of interest they have not publicly named. But without a body or direct evidence of a crime, they've been unable to make an arrest. Neither Lisa's ex-husband, Terry Maas, nor her ex-boyfriend, Ron Valliere, have been considered suspects by police. Theories and circumstances. Several factors suggest foul play. Lisa was 5 months pregnant and reportedly excited about her unborn child, making it unlikely she would vanish voluntarily without contacting her family, with whom she was on good terms. The condition of her car and the discovery of her driver's license point to an abrupt and possibly violent end to her journey home. An anonymous friend quoted in a Globe and Mail article a month after her disappearance speculated, "Whoever hurt Lisa knew her. Someone was either waiting for her in the car or she picked up someone. I know Lisa wouldn't stop on a back road in the middle of the night to pick up a stranger." The male acquaintance who last saw her has been a focal point of speculation, though no definitive evidence has linked him to her disappearance. The secluded nature of the farm lane where her car was found, combined with its proximity to Kiefer Falls, a known dumping ground, has led some to hypothesize that her body may have been disposed of nearby. Up next, similar cases. Similar cases. There are other unsolved instances of disappearance cases from Ontario, Canada with similarities to Lisa Maas's case, namely cases involving young women who vanished under mysterious circumstances, often after social events with potential foul play suspected. These cases share elements like abandoned vehicles, rural settings, or unresolved investigations, reflecting the challenges faced in Lisa Maas's case. Some of the cases like Lois Hanna, Amber Potts Jaffary, and Jan Stonehouse and Darlene Tucker I've detailed in the past, and a link for the full episode will be listed in the show notes. Lois Hanna, Kincardine, Ontario, July 3rd, 1988. Similarities: Lois Hanna, 25, disappeared just 2 weeks before Lisa Maas, on July 3rd, 1988 from Kincardine, about an hour's drive from Owen Sound. Like Lisa, she was last seen after a social event, a dance at the Celebrate in 88 festival in Lucknow. She made it home. Her red Pontiac Grand Am was found in her driveway, but vanished overnight, suggesting she was either followed or targeted at her residence. Both cases involve young women in rural Grey Bruce area, disappearing in July 1988, with no bodies found and foul play suspected. Details: Hannah, a former Miss Midwestern Ontario, left the dance around 11:45 p.m., intended to work the next day. Her car's presence at home contrasts with Maas's abandoned vehicle. The proximity in time and location has led to speculation of a connection, though police have ruled it out. Volunteer group Please Bring Me Home, also active in Maas's case, has searched for Hannah, focusing on areas near Holyrood. A $50,000 reward remains active. Status: unsolved, with a person of interest identified in 2019, living in Eganville, but no arrests. Amber Potts Jaffary, Toronto, Ontario, July 1988. Similarities: Amber, 16, disappeared in July 1988, the same month as Lisa Maas, after leaving a party in Toronto. Like Maas, she vanished after a social gathering, and her case remains unsolved with suspicions of foul play. The timing and party contacts echo Maas's disappearance, though the urban setting differs from Maas's rural one. Details: last seen leaving a party. Amber's case is one of several historic disappearances Toronto police continue to investigate. Limited public details exist, but her age and the social circumstances align with Maas's profile. No vehicle was involved, unlike Maas's case, but the lack of closure is a shared thread. Status: unsolved. Periodic appeals for information from Toronto Police. Christine Heron, Hanover, Ontario, May 18th, 1993. Similarities: Christine, 15, disappeared from Hanover, about 30 minutes from Owen Sound, after leaving her friend's house. Like Maas, she vanished in a small-town setting in the Grey Bruce region, and her case suggests foul play without a body or resolution. The proximity to Maas's disappearance location is notable. Details: Last seen walking home from a friend's place in broad daylight. Christine's case lacks the vehicle element of Maas's, but shares the mystery of a young woman disappearing suddenly. Searches and investigators have yielded no trace, and her family continues to seek answers. Status: unsolved, with ongoing community awareness efforts. Misty Murray, Goderich, Ontario, May 31st, 1995. Similarities: Misty, 16, disappeared from Goderich, roughly an hour from Owen Sound after leaving a party. Like Maas, she was last seen post-social event in a rural area, and her disappearance involves an abandoned setting. Her shoes and jacket were found near the Maitland River. Foul play is suspected, with no body recovered. Details: Misty left a party and was reportedly seen walking toward the river. Initial police focus on her father was later questioned, and a broader investigation ensued. The rural contacts and lack of closure mirror Maas's case, though the river proximity adds a different dimension. Status: unsolved, with periodic re-examination by police and advocates. Jan Stonehouse and Darlene Tucker, Oakville, Ontario, 1983. Similarities: these two teenage girls, aged 16 and 17, disappeared together from Oakville in 1983 after attending a party. Like Maas, their disappearance followed a social event. Despite extensive tips, including a promising 1987 sighting, no resolutions being reached, suggesting foul play. Details: last seen leaving a party, the pair's case differs in involving two victims. The party backdrop and lack of physical evidence in line with Maas's. Oakville is farther from Owen Sound, about 2 hours. The case reflects similar investigative challenges in Ontario. Status: unsolved, with occasional leads but no confirmed outcomes. Common themes and context: these cases share traits with Lisa Maas's disappearance. Young women vanishing after social interactions, often in rural or small-town Ontario settings, with vehicles or personal items left behind as clues. The late 1980s to mid-1990s timeframe suggests a period of heightened vulnerability in the region, possibly due to limited investigative technology or oversight in rural areas. The absence of bodies complicates prosecution, a hurdle also faced in Maas's case, where a suspect was identified but not charged. Volunteer efforts like those by Please Bring Me Home and police rewards highlight ongoing public interest, yet answers remain elusive. Up next, ongoing efforts by volunteers. Ongoing efforts by volunteers. The case has remained active, with a $50,000 reward offered by the province of Ontario for information leading to an arrest and conviction. In recent decades, amateur sleuths Nicoll Drive and Matthew Noper, co-founders of the volunteer group Please Bring Me Home, have taken up the cause. Since 2016, they've organized over 30 searches for Lisa, often alongside efforts to find Lois Hanna, another woman who disappeared from nearby Kincardine 2 weeks earlier, in July 1988, though police say the cases are unrelated. Notable search efforts include 2018, Old Dreve and Nopper dug beneath a dilapidated cabin near Anon and searched a property on 3rd Avenue East in Owen Sound, previously examined by police in 2010 to 2011. 2019, a helicopter search funded by a local businessman provided an aerial view of key locations, including where Lisa's car and license were found. 2021, a 4-day excavation near Woodford uncovered hundreds of bone fragments, later deemed non-human, but no trace of Lisa. In 2023, on the 35th anniversary of her disappearance, over 60 volunteers searched 7 sites near Anon, including areas near Kiefer Falls and the Juneau landfill, finding more bones that were sent for analysis but again proved non-human. Oldreive has uncovered intriguing clues over the years, such as women's underwear in a 1988 dated pop can near Gristmill on the lane where Lisa's car was found, though these findings didn't prompt further OPP action. He also learned from a friend of Lisa's that a rumored trip to Orangeville on July 16th never occurred, contrary to earlier narratives. But could there be alternative theories? Let's dive deeper into the alternative theories aspect of cold cases techniques as applied to Lisa Maas's disappearance on July 17, 1988. This approach involves stepping back from the established narrative. Lisa leaving the farmhouse and Anon alone in her car and vanishing, and testing new hypotheses to challenge assumptions, uncover overlooked possibilities, and potentially redirect the investigation. Below, I'll explore several plausible alternative theories considering the known details. Example, her car found stuck in mud on a farm lane, her driver's license tossed in a ditch, her pregnancy, and the male acquaintance account. How each could shift the focus of the case. Theory 1. Lisa was intercepted after leaving the farmhouse. Hypothesis. Lisa successfully drove away from the male acquaintance's farmhouse in her 1976 Plymouth Fury, but was intercepted by someone, either deliberately waiting for her or by chance, before reaching the farm lane where her car was found. Supporting details, the male acquaintance stated she turned left out of the laneway away from Anon, suggesting he had a destination in mind. If she was heading home to Owen Sound or elsewhere, a short drive could have put her in someone's path. Her familiarity with the area makes it odd she'd end up on a blind, muddy farm lane, unless diverted or coerced. An interception, example, someone flagging her down or blocking the road, could explain this detour. Her car's ransacked state, doors open, paper scattered, and attempts to free it from the mud suggest a struggle or haste, possibly by someone other than Lisa, after she was taken. Investigation shift. Witness canvass. Re-interviewed locals along the route from Annan to the farm lane for reports of vehicles or suspicious activity that morning. Someone might recall a car tailing hers or confrontation. Road analysis. Use GIS mapping to trace possible interception points, intersections, side roads, or isolated stretches where Lisa could have been stopped. Suspect profile. Consider someone who knew her plans. Example, a partygoer who left earlier, or a local opportunist aware of the quiet roads at 4:30 a.m. Implications. This theory shifts suspicion away from the male acquaintance as a sole actor and toward a broader pool of potential perpetrators, including acquaintances or strangers she encountered post-farmhouse. Theory 2. Lisa encountered someone on the farm lane itself. Hypothesis. Lisa drove onto the farm lane voluntarily, perhaps lost or seeking a shortcut, or was lured there, only to encounter someone who caused her disappearance. Supporting details. The farm lane's secluded nature and proximity to where she was last seen, a few kilometers from the farmhouse, make it a plausible spot for an ambush or unplanned meeting. Her car being stuck suggests she may have stopped or been forced to stop, and the ransacking could indicate a struggle or an attempt to stage the scene. The driver's license found kilometers away might imply her abductors or abductor fled the lane and discarded it later, pointing to a mobile suspect rather than a static crime scene. Investigation shift. Scene re-examination. Use ground-penetrating radar or soil analysis on the farm lane to detect signs of a struggle or burial site. Volunteers found a 1988 pop can and underwear nearby. Could these be retested for DNA linking to Lisa or a suspect? Timeline scrutiny. Recess the male acquaintance account of dropping her off at 4:30 a.m. versus when the car was found, July 19th. Could someone have been waiting on the lane, or did she stop there later? Local knowledge. Interview farmers or residents near the lane about who frequented it in 1988. Hunters, teens, or criminals using it as a hideout or dumping ground, like nearby Kiefer Falls. Implications. This focuses the search on the lane as the primary crime scene, potentially implicating someone who knew its isolation or stumbled upon her there, shifting from a planned act to a crime of opportunity. Theory 3. The male acquaintance's account is incomplete or false. Hypothesis. The male acquaintance didn't simply drop Lisa off at her car as claimed. Instead, he was directly involved, either driving her to the farm lane himself or following her there, and was more than he's admitted. Supporting details. He's the last person to see her, and his story she drove off alone can't be independently verified. His role as a key witness makes him a natural focal point for skepticism. The timing, even the party at 4:30 a.m., short distance to the farm lane, a few kilometers, suggests he could have stayed with her or trailed her without much effort. Lisa's pregnancy and recent breakup from Round Valliere might have sparked jealousy or conflict if the acquaintance had feelings for her or a motive tied to her personal life. Investigation shift. Re-interview with pressure. Use cognitive interviewing or a modern polygraph to test his 1988 statement for inconsistencies. Did he see her car leave? Did he follow her? Forensic link. Retest his farmhouse or any vehicle he owned in 1988 for Lisa's DNA or belongings. Could her rings or sweatshirt fibers be traced to him? Motive exploration. Dig into his relationship with Lisa. Casual friend or something more. The party witnesses note tension between them. Implications. This recenters the investigation on the acquaintance as a suspect rather than a bystander, potentially aligning with the OPP's unnamed person of interest, and calls for a deeper probe into his actions that night. Theory 4. Lisa never left the farmhouse alive. Hypothesis. Lisa didn't drive away as reported. Something happened at the farmhouse after the male acquaintance brought her there, and her car was later moved to the farm lane to mislead investigators. Supporting details. The acquaintance's account is the only evidence she left alive, and no one saw her car depart. If she was harmed at the farmhouse, her body could be hidden nearby, and the car staged later. Farm lane's odd location, not a logical route home, and the car's condition suggest it might have been dumped there post-incident, not driven by Lisa herself. Volunteer searches near and on, example the 2018 cabin dig, hint at local suspicion of a closer crime scene. Investigation shift. Farmhouse search. Revisit the Anon farmhouse with GPR or cadaver dogs to check for remains or evidence buried since 1988. Was the property fully searched back then? Vehicle logistics. Analyze the Plymouth Fury's mud patterns or tire tracks, if records exist, to determine if it was driven or towed to the lane. Who had access to move it? Witness corroboration. Track down the two girlfriends from the party. Did they see Lisa leave with the acquaintance in a state suggesting trouble? Implications? This theory treats the farmhouse as ground zero, reducing the search radius and intensifying scrutiny on the acquaintance's property and actions, possibly implicating others who helped cover it up. Theory 5. A third party staged the scene after her disappearance. Hypothesis. Lisa vanished voluntarily or by foul play, and someone unrelated to her fate later found and tampered with her car, scattering her license and complicating the case. Supporting details: the car being stuck with signs of an attempted extraction might indicate a thief or scavenger tried to move it, not a killer disposing of evidence. The license's odd placement atop grass kilometers away could suggest a separate actor. Perhaps a local teen or drifter found her abandoned car and took items before discarding them. Lisa's pregnancy and emotional state post-breakup might suggest she initially left voluntarily, only for her car to be found and altered later. Investigation shift. Secondary witnesses. Seek 1980 reports of petty crime or vandalism near and on. Did anyone spot scavengers or suspicious vehicles around July 17th to the 19th? Evidence separation. Reassess the car and license finds as potentially unrelated events. Could Lisa's remains be elsewhere, unconnected to the lane? Voluntary angle. Explore if Lisa contacted anyone after 4:30 a.m. Example, a friend or family member, before a separate fate befell her. Implications: this decouples the car scene from her disappearance, broadening the search beyond the farm lane and considering non-criminal explanations for some evidence. How to test these theories? Forensic retesting. Prioritize DNA and trace evidence from the car, license, and farmhouse to link Lisa to a location or person. A timeline reconstruction. Use witness re-interviews and digital mapping to pinpoint her movements post 4:30 a.m., testing the acquaintance story against physical evidence. Geographic focus. Deploy GPR and drones at the farmhouse, farm lane, and routes in between to narrow down a crime scene or disposal site. Behavioral analysis. Profile potential suspects, acquaintance, partygoers, or locals against each theory to see which fits the evidence and Lisa's life circumstances. Up next, the impact on the investigation. Impact on the investigation. Testing these alternative hypotheses could break the case's stagnation. If Lisa was intercepted or met someone on the lane, suspect pool widens beyond the acquaintance, prompting a fresh canvas of 1988 locals. If the acquaintance lied or she never left the farmhouse, the focus narrows intensely on him and his property, possibly aligning with the OPP's unnamed suspect. The staging theory, which is less likely, forces a rethink of the car's role, potentially redirecting searches away from and on. Given the case's 37-year-old cold status as of March 25, 2025, exploring these alternatives, combined with modern tools like DNA and GPR, offers a chance to resolve whether Lisa met her fate at the farmhouse, on the lane, or somewhere in between. Do any of these theories resonate with you? Current status and legacy. As of March 25, 2025, Lisa Maas's remains have not been found. No one's been charged in connection with her disappearance. The OPP continues to investigate, urging anyone with information to contact them at 1-888-310-1122 or Crime Stoppers at 1-800-222-8477. Old Reeve believes locals still hold key information, stating in 2023, there are people out there that know what happened to Lisa. The search persists, driven by a desire to bring closure to her family. Her father passed away recently, but her other relatives and friends remain hopeful. Lisa's case is a haunting reminder of the challenges in solving cold cases without a body. Yet the dedication of volunteers in the community keeps her story alive. 37 years after, she vanished into the night. As the sun rose over the muddy farm lane near Annan on that July morning in 1988, Lisa Maas was already gone. Her green Plymouth Fury, a silent witness to a mystery that's haunted Ontario for 37 years. A young woman 5 months pregnant, full of hope after a night with friends, vanished in the shadows of a summer night. Was it the male acquaintance who last saw her hiding a truth behind his story? Did someone intercept her on that dark road? Or does her fate lie buried near the farmhouse she never returned from? And what of Lois Hanna, Amber Potts Jaffary, and the other lost daughters of Ontario? Young women whose stories echo Lisa's, their families still waiting for answers. 37 years on, the clues remain scattered like the papers in her car. Tantalizing, frustrating, and just out of reach. But as people have said, there are people out there who know what happened. Maybe one of them is listening right now. That's it for this episode of Ontario Cold Cases, Canada's True Crime Podcast. I'm Jay Nicoll of Nicoll Investigations, and I'm grateful you joined me to step into these shadows. If this story gripped you, if you're haunted by Lisa's fate or the chilling pattern of Ontario's missing women, don't miss an episode. Subscribe now wherever you get your podcasts, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or any platform you love, so you're ready when we unravel the next cold case. All our episodes, including this one, are available there, waiting for you to dive deeper. And here's your call to action. If you know something, anything, about Lisa Maas or these other cases, it's not too late. Contact the Ontario Provincial Police at 1-888-310-1122 or Crime Stoppers at 1-800-222-TIPS. A $50,000 reward still stands. One tip could finally bring Lisa home. The truth is out there. Let's help her family find it. Until next time, keep searching for the light in the darkness. This is Jay Nicoll, because every case deserves answers, and every victim deserves justice.